Let's bring in our first guest, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Merry Christmas to you, Governor. It's always fantastic to see you. Biden delivered his holiday message to the American people yesterday. Watch.
I sincerely hope this holiday season will drain the poison that has infected our politics and set us against one another. I hope this Christmas season marks a fresh start for our nation, because there's so much that unites us as Americans, so much more that unites us than divides us.
He claims he hopes we can take the venom out of politics, but that doesn't square with what he's been saying his entire occupation of the Oval Office, Governor. Look at this.
I know where I stand. I will not yield. I will not flinch. I will defend the right to vote, our democracy against all enemies, foreign and, yes, domestic. The Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Governor, hypocrisy doesn't seem to be a proper word to cover everything there. What do you say?
Well, Chris, there's a couple of big glaring things. First of all, Joe Biden can't seem to come to grips with the fact that Christmas is about Jesus Christ. You don't have to love or worship Jesus Christ to acknowledge that. You just have to acknowledge that the reason that there is such a thing as Christmas, which means the Mass of Christ or the worship of Christ, is because it's about Jesus, born 2,000 years ago. Shouldn't be that hard. He just can't bring himself to acknowledge that. This is the second year in a row he has completely ignored the just Christ-centric essence of Christmas. But the other thing, and you pointed it out, this is the guy who has created more poison and more bile in the body politic of America than anybody I know. Barack Obama, we thought, was a divisive president in some ways. Some would say Donald Trump was a divisive president in that he clearly drew the lines between where he stood and where others did. But nobody can hold a candle to jumping Joe Biden, who jumps to every conclusion. And even in his remarks, as he talks about unity and bringing together all this new wonderful kumbaya spirit, this is the guy who basically said that half of America represent a threat to democracy. You don't bring unity when you accuse people on the other side of being an actual threat to the very system of government we have. It's absurd.
Right. He's a fake. He's a pretender. He calls for unity and says, oh, I want to get rid of the poison, but he's the main injector of that poison. And I want to circle back to what you were talking about. Yes, Joe Biden is also a fake Catholic. He's a fake Christian. He leaves Christ out of Christmas for the second year in a row. Watch.
And we look to the sky, to a lone star, shining brighter than all the rest, guiding us to the birth of a child Christians believe to be the Son of God. Miraculously now, here among us on earth, bringing hope, love, and peace.
Yeah. I just find that, why does it take so much just to say the birth of Jesus Christ? I don't understand it, Governor, do you?
No, I really don't. I mean, it's not offensive. I've got many, many Jewish friends. I wish them a happy Hanukkah. They wish me a Merry Christmas. We understand that we approach this time of year a little differently, with a different approach to what matters in our own particular faith. I'm not threatened or intimidated that somebody believes differently than me. I can be grateful. I can celebrate the fact that someone has a different point of view. But it doesn't mean that I deny my point of view, or that somehow I pretend that Jesus isn't the reason for which we have Christmas. And I find that most people of faith, even of other faiths, can respect and recognize and even have some sense of joy in saying, hey, look, Christians celebrate Jesus at Christmas. So what? That's what they're supposed to do. It ought to be okay to be able to do that.
It's what we call automatic. It's supposed to be that way. I want to show you this disturbing video out of the UK. It's been circulating around the internet. It's gone viral. Police arresting a woman who was silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. Watch this, Governor.
What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
Okay, that's why you're still here. Is you standing here part of the protest?
No, I'm not
Are
protesting.
Are you praying?
I might be praying in my head.
Okay, well then you're under arrest, okay, on suspicion of failing to comply with the Public Spaces Protection Order.
Good grief. Governor, isn't this where we're headed in the United States if we continue to follow the likes of Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, John Cornyn, Pelosi, and Romney, those people who don't covet our rights and liberties?
Chris, you said it in the opening monologue very effectively. What you just saw happening in the UK is on its way here. It's going to be as real as the British invasion when the Beatles came over and did the Ed Sullivan Show. Because the fact is, what we're seeing in America is that the pro-life community is being targeted and attacked. The Department of Justice, for the most part, has stood back and said, oh, nothing to see here, let's move along. That's why crisis pregnancy centers have been firebombed, vandalized, their leaders threatened with assassination. This is a lady who is quietly, silently praying for the lives of babies, and she gets arrested. But if someone torches an abortion clinic, no big deal, nothing to see. Yeah. And I think it's very disturbing, and it shows that the left really does have it out for unborn babies. And we should never apologize, never back up, and never, ever give up on fighting for the sanctity of every single human life and their intrinsic worth and value.
Amen. Amen. And from what we've been able to tell, the Department of Justice hasn't gone after anybody who has attacked those pregnancy centers, but they do take very seriously anybody who would actually stand in the way of an abortion clinic, which tells you the values of this government. Mike Huckabee, Merry Christmas to you, sir. We appreciate your time, as always, on the Chris Salcedo Show.